Welcome, dearly beloved chosen ones. Don't ever mistake someone's silence for their weakness. Silence in the hands of a chosen one is not surrender, it's strategy. Sometimes that silence is the quiet inhale before an unspeakable storm. The most dangerous people in this world are not the ones who react instantly, lashing out in the heat of the moment. No, the most dangerous are the ones who absorb every insult, every betrayal, every dagger to the heart, and instead of retaliating, they observe, document, and stand still in a divine calm that confuses their enemies. Why? Because they know the universe is the ultimate witness, and time is the most loyal executor of justice. Here's a sobering truth backed by psychological studies. Individuals who harm others without remorse will continue to do so until they encounter a consequence strong enough to stop them. And beloved, that consequence was you. You didn't just walk into their life as another target. You entered as a divine interruption, a living reckoning they never saw coming. Let's be honest. What you endured wasn't some series of accidental slip-ups or random outbursts. No, it was premeditated, strategic cruelty, delivered with chilling precision and a cold smirk. They didn't just hurt you, they orchestrated your pain like a composer conducting a dark symphony. They didn't show mercy because they never had the intention to. But isn't it remarkable that the same hands that threw stones at you are now lifted in desperate prayer, begging the universe for a fraction of the mercy they denied you? And if we're being real, isn't there a certain divine satisfaction in watching karma operate with pinpoint accuracy, like a GPS-guided missile that never misses? Watching them transform from stone-cold and confident to spiritually sunburned and scrambling is a sight only the chosen can truly understand. So buckle up, chosen one, because in this video, we're not holding back. We're going to unravel the raw, unfiltered truth about how you were targeted, tormented, and tested, not by accident, but by design. And now, the tables aren't just turning, they're flipping the entire room upside down, revealing every hidden lie and every buried intention. Before we dive in, I want to pause and say thank you to each and every one of you who has supported this channel, especially those who have donated through Super Thanks. Your generosity helps us keep bringing these deep spiritual truths to light. And whether you donate or not, please know from the depths of my heart that I am deeply grateful for you being here, for your energy, your presence, and your spirit. If you're ready to stand boldly in your truth and claim your divine authority, I invite you to comment 777 below as a public declaration that you are stepping fully into your power, no longer living in the shadows of fear or silence. Let's go deeper. Let's get into it. This is your time, chosen one. Welcome home. God's chosen ones. They showed no mercy. What you endured was no accident. Now justice is coming. Number 1. They didn't make a mistake. They executed a strategy. Chosen one, let's be clear. What you went through was never a random misstep. It wasn't an innocent error, a slip of the tongue, or a moment of confusion. No, it was a carefully orchestrated plan designed to break you from the inside out. Have you ever wondered why it felt so targeted, so precise, as if every betrayal hit exactly where it hurt the most? That's because it was. They didn't just stumble into harming you, they mapped it out like a general mapping a battlefield. Every cold glance, every silent treatment, every rumor whispered behind your back was intentional, rehearsed, and executed with a chilling level of focus. Imagine how unsettling it is to realize someone watched you closely, not to learn from your light, but to study your weaknesses like a predator studies prey. They paid attention to every sigh, every hesitation, every vulnerable confession you made in good faith. They were never moved by your tears, they were taking notes. When you tried to reason, they twisted your words. When you showed love, they interpreted it as another opening to wound you. Isn't it haunting to think that while you lay awake at night replaying every interaction, they were somewhere laughing, satisfied that their scheme was unfolding perfectly? Look at the story of Joseph in Genesis 50:20. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. Like Joseph's brothers, they didn't act on impulse. They executed a strategy driven by envy, jealousy, and insecurity. But just like Joseph, your destiny was never theirs to control. They plotted to bury you, not realizing you were a seed destined to rise. Consider the story of Nelson Mandela, imprisoned for 27 years by a system that believed it had broken him. They didn't make a mistake. They designed a strategy to silence him permanently. But when Mandela walked out of that prison, he wasn't just free, he was stronger, sharper, and spiritually untouchable. His very existence became a threat to the structures that tried to destroy him. Doesn't that sound familiar, Chosen One? Can you feel the same resilience rising within you now? When they orchestrated your downfall, they did it with chilling composure. They isolated you slowly, turned allies into enemies, and sowed seeds of doubt in every relationship around you. Why? Because control wasn't enough. They wanted total domination over your mind and spirit. They forced you into questioning your reality, thinking, is it me? Am I the problem? But it was never you. You were simply the mirror that reflected their own darkness back to them, a mirror they desperately wanted to shatter. In John 15:18-19, Jesus warns us, if the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. If you belonged to the world, it would love you as its own. They didn't hate you because you were wrong. They hated you because your light exposed what they wanted hidden. Your unwavering spirit threatened their carefully crafted illusions. Look at Princess Diana, who faced global scrutiny and betrayal within her own walls. Many assumed her struggles were caused by misunderstandings or missteps, but behind the scenes, it was a strategic campaign to isolate and weaken her. Yet, despite the attempts to control her narrative, Diana's authentic heart and compassion turned her into a beloved figure worldwide. Her vulnerability became her power, and so will yours. Chosen One, can you sense now why they went to such lengths? Why they couldn't leave you alone? Why they kept pulling strings even after you tried to walk away? It wasn't about you as a person, it was about what you represent. You are a living embodiment of truth, and the truth terrifies those who thrive on deception. When they realized you wouldn't break, they didn't retreat. They doubled down, hoping to finish the job before you exposed them. But as Proverbs 26:27 says, whoever digs a pit will fall into it. If someone rolls a stone, it will roll back on them. Their strategies are now backfiring, and the pit they dug for you has become their own grave. Oprah Winfrey, too, was underestimated and betrayed by people she trusted in her early media career. Instead of succumbing, she transformed each blow into fuel for her divine assignment. What was designed to silence her became her loudest roar. That's your story too, Chosen One. Can you see how every wound was actually a doorway to your elevation? What's unfolding now is the part they never planned for, your resurrection. They expected you to fade quietly, to disappear under the weight of shame and confusion. They didn't expect you to rise, to heal, and to come back with a voice stronger than ever. You are living proof of Psalm 23:5. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. The same people who plotted your demise are now forced to witness your divine elevation. Their strategy might have been precise, but they didn't account for divine intervention. They didn't see the angels assigned to you. They didn't factor in your ancestral prayers, your hidden spiritual arsenal, or the covenant God made with you before you were even born. Have you realized that yet? That no matter how detailed their plan, they could never outmaneuver destiny. Steve Jobs, ousted from his own company, was strategically cut out by those who feared his vision. But that setback didn't bury him, it refined him. When he returned, he revolutionized an entire industry. Just like Jobs, your comeback isn't just personal, it's prophetic. Chosen One, understand this deeply. What they orchestrated against you was a sophisticated form of spiritual and emotional warfare. But what God has planned for you transcends every tactic, every weapon, every whispered lie. You are not only surviving, you are becoming the living testimony of unstoppable grace. Can you feel the power of that revelation stirring in your bones right now? Number 2, your pain was their entertainment until the stage flipped. Chosen One, do you understand how twisted it is that your deepest pain was someone else's favorite show? While you lay awake at night replaying harsh words and betrayals, they were somewhere delighting in your suffering, treating it like a private circus act. They didn't just want to see you hurt, They wanted to see how far they could push you before you finally collapsed. Isn't it chilling to realize that your agony was their source of joy? Think about the story of Job. His friends and even his wife urged him to curse God and give up, watching to see how much he could endure. In Job 1:21, he declares, "The Lord gave and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised." Even in his lowest moments, Job refused to provide the breakdown his enemies wanted. Your story mirrors that resilience. They waited for you to curse your light, to renounce your calling, but you held on. Michael Jordan's career offers a modern-day echo. After facing public ridicule, doubts and betrayal even within his own organization, he transformed each cut into motivation. Instead of breaking, he dominated. Your strength, chosen one, operates on the same frequency. Why? Because when God's breath is in you, your bounce back becomes legendary. Their entertainment came from your confusion. They delighted in your tears, your self-doubt, and your fragile attempts to keep standing. But you know what they never expected. They never expected that you would transform your wounds into wings. Have you felt that shift lately? The moment when you realized their stage was no longer yours to perform on, but theirs to collapse upon. Consider Britney Spears, whose struggles became global entertainment for millions. The paparazzi and tabloids thrived on her breakdowns, feeding the public with carefully edited narratives. But now, the Free Britney movement has flipped the stage, forcing the world to acknowledge the cruelty she endured. Like Britney, your strength has turned public sympathy into a force too powerful to silence. Psalm 118:17 declares, "I will not die but live, and will proclaim what the Lord has done." Your survival is not just survival, it's a testimony. Every time they thought you'd finally give up, you surprised them. You didn't provide the tragic ending they wrote for you. You rewrote the script entirely. And now, they're left watching in horror as the scenes they crafted in secret become public knowledge, and their applause turns into gasps. Chadwick Boseman silently battled cancer while giving the world unforgettable performances. People criticized his changing appearance, not knowing he was fighting a private war. His victory wasn't just in surviving, but in giving the world his very best in the midst of pain. You too have been giving your best in silence. How many times did you show up with a smile when your soul was shivering inside? How often did you support others while your own heart was breaking? Galatians 6:9 reminds us, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." You didn't give up, and now that harvest is arriving. The people who once waited eagerly for your collapse must now watch you blossom. Your enemies, the same ones who enjoyed your pain, are now tormented by your joy. They are haunted by your healing. Every smile you wear, every success you achieve, every boundary you reinforce is a dagger to their fragile egos. The spotlight has turned, and now they're the ones squirming under its glare. Can you feel how much power there is in that chosen one? In Romans 12:19, we are reminded, "Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, 'It is mine to avenge, I will repay,' says the Lord." You don't have to plot their downfall. You don't have to orchestrate revenge. Just keep rising. Your light alone is enough to collapse their empire of shadows. Chosen one, your pain was their entertainment, but your victory is their nightmare. Your testimony is no longer a private diary, it's a public declaration. The stage they built to showcase your humiliation has become the platform for your triumph. And now they must watch in silence, in horror, and in the full awareness that they underestimated a child of God. Number 3, you were the experiment, but they became the evidence. Chosen one, have you ever stopped to wonder why they seemed so obsessed with your every move? Why they were so invested in your reactions, your emotions, your pain? It wasn't because they cared, it was because you were their experiment. Yes, you were more than just a person to them. You were a living, breathing science project. They watched you as if you were a puzzle to be solved, dissected, and ultimately destroyed. Isn't it chilling to realize they didn't just hurt you for fun? They wanted to learn how you functioned, how your spirit responded to endless waves of betrayal. Each insult, each betrayal, wasn't an accident. It was a carefully placed piece in their twisted experiment. They poked at your old wounds, whispered words that mirrored your childhood fears, and then stepped back to watch the explosion. They weren't concerned with your healing, they were fascinated with your unraveling. They studied you like a lab rat, feeding you bits of false hope and affection one moment, then pulling it away the next. Have you noticed how they always seemed to know exactly what to say or do to break you down? It wasn't intuition, it was calculation. Look at the life of Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and renowned psychiatrist. The Nazis treated prisoners like experiments, testing their mental and emotional limits in the most inhumane ways. Yet Frankl discovered that despite everything, no one could take away his ultimate freedom, the ability to choose his response. You, chosen one, embody that same power. Even when they set the stage for your breakdown, you retained your choice, your light, your divine essence. Isaiah 54:17 says, "No weapon forged against you will prevail, and you will refute every tongue that accuses you." Every tactic they used, every spiritual weapon they forged, was destined to fail because your destiny was never in their hands. Your identity was sealed by God long before their experiment even began. They changed the rules constantly, didn't they? One day, you were the hero in their eyes. The next, you were the villain. One week they celebrated your successes. The next, they ridiculed your failures. It was all part of the psychological labyrinth they built to keep you disoriented, lost, and doubting yourself. But what they never accounted for was your resilience, the quiet, unwavering flame that refused to go out. Have you ever wondered why you kept getting back up even when you didn't know where your strength was coming from? The same strategy was used on Malala Yousafzai. Shot for daring to go to school, her attackers wanted to experiment with fear as a weapon. But instead of silencing her, their attack turned her into a global advocate for girls' education. Like Malala, you turned their experiment into your evidence, evidence of your unbreakable spirit. 1 Peter 5:10 promises us, "And the God of all grace, who called you to his eternal glory in Christ, after you have suffered a little while, will himself restore you and make you strong, firm, and steadfast." Your restoration is not just about survival, it's about transformation. You are becoming stronger, firmer, and more steadfast than they could have ever imagined. And now, the tables have turned. The spotlight that was once focused on your failures is now revealing their manipulations. The masks are slipping, and people are starting to ask the questions they never thought to ask before. Why did they treat you that way? Why are their stories full of holes? Why does your light shine brighter despite the darkness thrown at you? Suddenly, you are no longer the experiment, you have become the evidence of their cruelty, the living proof of their spiritual bankruptcy. Look at Meghan Markle, once vilified and dissected by the media and even her own family circle. Every move she made was twisted into another tabloid headline, but through her resilience and truth-telling, she turned the narrative around. Now the world watches those who tried to destroy her with critical eyes. Just like Meghan, your very existence has become a testimony they cannot erase. Romans 8:18 reassures us, "I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us." Every tear you shed was a seed for future glory. Every moment of confusion was preparation for divine clarity. Every betrayal was a rehearsal for your public vindication. Have you realized, chosen one, that their attempts to break you only revealed their own weaknesses? The data they collected to destroy you has become the blueprint of their downfall. Their arrogance blinded them to the fact that God was documenting everything. You are the record, the archive, the living receipt of their spiritual debt. And now the universe is cashing in. Harriet Tubman was hunted, betrayed, and targeted, yet each act of cruelty only strengthened her resolve to free more slaves. She became evidence of what unwavering faith and divine guidance could achieve. Your journey echoes hers, not just in the struggle, but in the legacy you're leaving behind. Psalm 34:19 declares, "Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all." You are that righteous one, delivered not just once, but continually into higher levels of purpose and power. Chosen one, your healing isn't just a private victory, it's a public revelation. They wanted to keep you in the shadows, but God is turning on every light. You are no longer a silent sufferer. You are the voice echoing through the halls of their hidden chambers. exposing their schemes and revealing the unstoppable force you truly are. Number 4. Mercy was denied because they assumed you were powerless. Chosen one. Let's face it, they didn't deny you mercy by accident. They did it with full awareness and absolute arrogance. Have you asked yourself why? Why they thought you deserved no compassion, no kindness, no chance for healing? It's because they looked at you and saw what they wanted to see, a powerless soul, isolated and easy to break. But have you realized yet how wrong they were? How deeply they underestimated the ocean of strength and divine authority within you? They believed mercy was for equals or for those they feared. Since they saw you as beneath them, they felt free to cross every boundary, violate every moral line, and dismantle every bit of your confidence. Their refusal to show mercy wasn't a slip, it was a declaration of war on your spirit. They assumed that by withholding mercy, they were confirming your inferiority. But you and I both know the truth. Your quietness wasn't weakness, it was strategy. Your silence wasn't surrender, it was preparation. Esther 14 reminds us, perhaps you were born for such a time as this. They didn't know that in your silence, God was orchestrating a strategy for your ultimate rise. They thought they were the hunters, but in reality, they were the prey of their own spiritual ignorance. Think about Serena Williams, repeatedly painted as aggressive and undeserving of mercy on the tennis court. Critics denied her grace at every turn. Yet she didn't just survive, she dominated and redefined what power looked like in her field. Like Serena, your power terrifies them because it refuses to fit their limited definitions. They mistook your patience for submission. When you chose not to retaliate immediately, they read it as evidence that they had succeeded. They didn't realize you were gathering heavenly artillery, building spiritual fortresses, and aligning with forces they couldn't comprehend. You were growing in secret, becoming more dangerous than they could ever imagine. How ironic is it that their arrogance became the ladder for your ascension? In 2 Corinthians 12:9, God tells us, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." What they called weakness was actually the soil where God's power took root and bloomed. Your vulnerability became your most potent weapon, invisible to their blinded eyes. They thought they were above accountability, but as they denied you mercy, they exposed their own fears. They showed the world they didn't act from strength but from insecurity and spiritual poverty. Every boundary they crossed out of arrogance is now returning to them as divine judgment. Can you feel that shift in the spiritual realm? The echo of their cruelty returning louder than they ever imagined? Nelson Mandela's jailers denied him mercy for decades, assuming they had crushed his spirit. But each day in prison was a step toward his transformation. When he emerged, he held more power and moral authority than his oppressors could ever dream of. You too are stepping out of your own prison stronger and more authoritative than ever before. Proverbs 16:18 says, "Pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall." Their arrogance was not strength. It was the first step toward their collapse. By denying you mercy, they revealed the size of their fear and the smallness of their vision. They showed that they understood neither divine justice nor the hidden depth of your spiritual arsenal. Have you noticed, chosen one, how their confidence is cracking now? How they scramble to rewrite the story, to cast you once again as powerless? But it's too late. You've already been crowned in the spirit. Your story has shifted from tragedy to triumph, from victimhood to victory. Rosa Parks' quiet refusal to give up her seat wasn't just an act of defiance, it was a declaration of hidden strength. Her enemies underestimated her, denying her mercy and assuming she had no support. But that single act ignited a movement that changed history. You carry that same silent thunder in your soul. Psalm 37:13 comforts us. "The Lord laughs at the wicked, for he knows their day is coming." As they denied you mercy, God was setting the stage for their exposure and your exaltation. Chosen one, they thought they could define you, confine you, and erase you. But by refusing you mercy, they unknowingly gave you the blueprint to your next level. They assumed you were powerless, but your power was never in what they could see. It was always in what God planted within you. And now you're not just reclaiming your narrative, you're becoming a living testament to a strength they can never understand. Number 5. You were their shadow work, and they chose to project, not heal. Chosen one. Have you ever stopped to consider why certain people reacted so violently to your mere existence? Why your light seemed to ignite such intense hatred, jealousy, or bitterness in them? It's because you didn't just walk into their life by coincidence. You walked in as a divine mirror, reflecting all the shadows they fought so hard to keep hidden. You weren't simply a person, you were a revelation, an unfiltered truth they weren't ready to see. Does that realization make your journey feel different now? You see, instead of facing their guilt, shame, or old wounds, they took the easy road to project. It's much simpler, isn't it, to attack the mirror than to heal the cracks within. Instead of asking, what can I learn from this person's light? What parts of myself need attention? They pointed their finger at you, as if by destroying you, they could silence the screaming echo inside their own spirit. Look at the story of King Saul and David. In 1 Samuel 18:12, Saul was afraid of David because the Lord was with David, but had departed from Saul. Saul couldn't face his own failings and spiritual emptiness, so he projected his insecurities and hatred onto David. He didn't hate David because of any wrong, he hated him because David's light exposed his own darkness. That's exactly what you've been doing unknowingly, exposing the unhealed depths of those around you. The same dynamic played out in the life of Princess Diana. Her authenticity, vulnerability, and compassion highlighted the dysfunction and coldness within the royal family. Instead of embracing her warmth, they turned her into a target, feeding stories to the media and isolating her emotionally. Her light threatened the old structures, and so they chose to attack rather than reflect. Have you noticed how they shifted from charm to cruelty? One moment praising you, the next moment tearing you down. That's because your very presence forced them to confront the parts of themselves they denied. Your integrity made them question their lies. Your joy made them acknowledge their emptiness. Your resilience highlighted their cowardice. Can you see now that their attacks were never really about you? They were about their battle with their own shadows. John 3:20 reminds us, "Everyone who does evil hates the light and will not come into the light for fear that their deeds will be exposed." Your existence as a chosen one is a beam of divine light, and instead of stepping into it, they chose to run, to project, to destroy. But you can't dim a light ordained by heaven, can you? Michael Jackson, one of the most iconic artists in history, was constantly attacked and mischaracterized. His brilliance and innocence exposed the envy and corruption of those around him. Rather than healing, many chose to twist his kindness and creative genius into tools for their own narratives. Just like Michael, you became the canvas on which others painted their insecurities. Their strategy was clear. If they could distort your image, they could avoid confronting their own. Every insult was an attempt to silence that mirror. Every betrayal was an effort to break it. But here's the irony. Mirrors can crack, but they still reflect. And the more they tried to shatter you, the clearer the truth became for everyone watching. In Matthew 5:14-16, Jesus said, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden." They underestimated how visible your light truly is. Even with all their projections, you remain unhidden, unstoppable, undeniably radiant. Consider Oprah Winfrey's early career, where colleagues and even audiences projected their biases and insecurities onto her. Many tried to pigeonhole her, limit her, dismiss her. Yet each attack only refined her purpose and expanded her reach. Like Oprah, your journey is a testimony that no projection can erase destiny. Chosen one, you must understand, their attacks were confessions. Each attempt to diminish you was a silent scream of their own unhealed pain. Your patience was misread as weakness, your forgiveness as foolishness, but you knew all along you were chosen to reflect, not to absorb. You didn't internalize their darkness, you showed it back to them. Can you feel the power in that now? Psalm 27:1 boldly declares, "The Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life, of whom shall I be afraid?" You stood firm, not because you were immune to pain, but because you were anchored in divine light. In the end, their relentless projection only magnified their true selves to the world. Now the very mirror they despised stands tall and clear, showing them the very things they refused to acknowledge if they ever hoped to find peace. You weren't just their opponent, you were their shadow work, and whether they accept it or not, you will always represent the choice they refuse to make to heal. Number 6. Your kindness was a weapon they turned on you. Chosen one, have you ever wondered why your kindness felt like it backfired so many times? Why the more you forgave, the more they seemed to exploit you? It's because they saw your kindness not as strength, but as a loophole. They saw your open heart as an unlocked door to invade, to manipulate, and to twist for their gain. But do you realize now that your kindness was never the problem? Their intentions were. Your empathy, your willingness to see the best in others, your constant hope that they would change, these were not flaws, they were reflections of your divine DNA. Ephesians 4:32 commands, "Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as in Christ God forgave you." Your heart operated from this higher law. You weren't naive, you were operating from a place of heavenly alignment. But they mistook your grace as permission. Every forgiveness became another chance for them to push the line further. Every act of patience became a new stage for their manipulation. You weren't just a kind person in their eyes. You were a tool, a resource, a never-ending supply of energy they could drain. Isn't it sobering to think they didn't just betray you, they tried to redefine kindness as weakness? Think of Nelson Mandela. His kindness and forgiveness were turned against him multiple times, especially during negotiations for freedom. Many viewed his patience as a vulnerability to exploit, yet he knew that kindness wasn't a weakness, it was his ultimate strategic weapon, and ultimately it redefined an entire nation's destiny. Your silence, chosen one, wasn't an admission of guilt, it was a sacred space, a spiritual fortress, where you recalibrated and observed. They called it passivity, but in reality it was a form of spiritual warfare, a deliberate refusal to match their chaos. How many times did you swallow your words, not because you had nothing to say, but because you knew your energy was too valuable to waste on empty battles? Romans 12:21 encourages us, "Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." Your ability to keep showing up with integrity, even when they didn't deserve it, is proof of your divine lineage. But here's the twist. The kindness they weaponized is now the evidence of their betrayal. Your consistent grace stands as a monument to your character and as an indictment of theirs. Consider the story of Fred Rogers, better known as Mr. Rogers. His genuine kindness and emotional openness were mocked by many, yet he never wavered. Years later, his gentle approach is now revered as a model for emotional intelligence and spiritual maturity. Similarly, your kindness is being vindicated in ways you can't yet see. Isaiah 40:31 proclaims, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles." Your kindness wasn't the rope that bound you. It was the wind beneath your wings, lifting you beyond their reach. And now, the very patience they took advantage of is the sword that pierces their illusions. Have you noticed how their stories are starting to unravel? How your calm presence now screams louder than any of their accusations? Your kindness has become a silent megaphone, echoing your truth and exposing their games. They thought they could make you small, but your goodness has only magnified your presence in every room, in every conversation, in every heart you've touched. Rihanna faced betrayal and exploitation from people who mistook her generosity for gullibility, yet she turned that pain into an empire and a platform to uplift others. Your journey carries that same prophetic energy. What was once used against you is now being transformed into your greatest strength. 1 Corinthians 13:4-7 reminds us, "Love is patient, love is kind. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres." Your kindness was never about letting them win. It was about staying aligned with who God made you to be. And now, as they scramble to rewrite their lies, your quiet, steadfast love is writing the truest story of all. Chosen one, the fortress of your heart was never breached. The kindness they tried to twist has now become the weapon of light, revealing every shadow, every manipulation, every hidden agenda. What they believed would be your downfall is the very force that lifts you higher. You are the embodiment of divine love, resilient, radiant, and unstoppable. Number 7. They played judge, jury, and executioner, but forgot about the real court, Chosen one. How many times did they make you feel like your life was nothing but a case file on their private courtroom table? They positioned themselves as judge, jury, and executioner, confidently passing sentence over your life, your character, and your destiny, without ever asking for the truth. They never invited evidence. They never cared for context. They didn't want your testimony because your truth would have dismantled their false narrative. Did you ever wonder why they were so eager to play God over your story? It wasn't about justice, it was about control. Look at how they handed down their silent verdicts. The cold stares, the whispered rumors, the calculated exile from the circles you once called home. They condemned you in secret halls, behind closed doors, where no one could challenge them. They assumed their word was law, that their judgments were permanent and unquestionable. But chosen one, can you see it now? Their so-called power was nothing but a fragile illusion, a castle of cards built on lies and shadows. In Isaiah 33:22 it is written, "For the Lord is our judge, the Lord is our lawgiver, the Lord is our king, it is he who will save us." They forgot about this higher court, the one where your soul is defended not by human witnesses but by the divine truth that cannot be silenced. Their petty tribunal may have silenced the people around you, but it could never silence heaven. Have you felt that shift in the atmosphere? The shift where your silent prayers became thunderous roars in the spirit realm? Think of Muhammad Ali, stripped of his title and sentenced by public opinion because he refused to be drafted into a war he did not believe in. The world played judge and jury, calling him unpatriotic, a coward. Yet, with time, divine justice restored him, and he is now remembered as a symbol of courage and conviction. Just like Ali, the judgments against you were not final, they were stepping stones to your ultimate vindication. When they passed their sentence on you, they acted as though there was no appeal, no higher power to intervene. They felt untouchable, emboldened by the echo chamber they built around themselves. But here's what they underestimated. The real court was always open. The spiritual court that holds every whispered word, every lie, every hidden motive. Can you feel the justice rising now as the truth pierces every corner they tried to keep dark? Look at how Martin Luther King Jr. was tried and condemned in the public eye, branded as a troublemaker, a radical, even an enemy of the state. Yet his moral and spiritual authority transcended every earthly verdict. Today he stands immortal in history, and those who judged him are remembered for their ignorance and cruelty. Your story mirrors his, in that your true value and righteousness are being revealed beyond the limited courtrooms of human perception. Romans 2:1 reminds us, "You therefore have no excuse, you who pass judgment on someone else, for at whatever point you judge another, you are condemning yourself." Every judgment they passed on you was a confession of their own insecurities and spiritual bankruptcy. They thought they were burying you, but they were only planting seeds for your resurrection. They operated under the illusion that their verdicts would stick, that their words could seal your fate. But the real court doesn't operate on gossip, it operates on truth. It doesn't care for cliques or manipulated evidence, it sees through to the heart. Every harsh word they spoke in secret is now echoing back to them in the form of consequences they can't escape. Can you see it happening, chosen one? The unraveling of their stories, the exposure of their tactics, the sudden panic in their once confident faces. Simone Biles, the world-renowned gymnast, was judged harshly when she chose her mental health over medals. Critics labeled her weak, selfish, uncommitted, but her higher court, her inner knowing and divine guidance upheld her decision, turning her moment of supposed failure into a global statement of strength. You too are stepping into that same vindication. Psalm 37:6 declares, "He will make your righteous reward shine like the dawn, your vindication like the noonday sun." Your vindication is unstoppable, undeniable, and beautifully timed. Chosen one, what they called a final sentence was only an intermission. Their judgments have no authority in the kingdom you belong to. The real court is now in session, and its verdict is not based on their opinions but on the divine plan written over your life before you even took your first breath. They wanted to play God, but now they must face the true judge. And in his court your name is cleared, your story is honored, and your destiny is unstoppable. Number 8. The harm was ritual, not random. Chosen one, has it ever struck you that the harm you endured felt cyclical, repetitive, almost ritualistic. It wasn't just a single outburst or a moment of heated emotion. It was a pattern, a series of calculated moves designed to erode you from the inside out. Every cold shoulder, every carefully timed silence, every sudden withdrawal of love or support. It wasn't an accident. It was a spiritual ritual of harm, a slow burn meant to hollow you out. Does that realization shift your perspective on the battles you fought? They didn't just want to hurt you, they wanted to reshape you, to remold you into something smaller, weaker, more compliant. Each insult was a chisel, each betrayal a hammer strike. This wasn't love or misunderstanding, it was psychological warfare dressed up in familiarity and feigned care. Can you see it now? How each phase was planned to keep you guessing, to make you question your own mind and worth. In John 10:10, Jesus warns us, "The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full." They operated from the spirit of the thief, aiming to steal your joy, kill your dreams, and destroy your identity. But chosen one, your divine assignment was always stronger than their rituals. Think about Britney Spears. Her life became a spectacle, a cycle of control under her conservatorship. Her pain wasn't random, it was orchestrated, a long-term strategy to keep her silent and profitable. Yet through it all, her spirit fought for freedom. The Free Britney movement wasn't just about legal emancipation, it was about reclaiming her humanity from a ritual of harm. You too are reclaiming your soul from the cycles that tried to break you. Your confusion wasn't accidental, it was carefully engineered. The back-and-forth affection, the sudden punishments, the strategic gaslighting, all methods to weaken your sense of reality and keep you dependent. But look at you now. Can you feel how each cycle that was meant to weaken you has instead become a source of strength and awareness? You've begun to see the patterns, to map the labyrinth, to name each tactic, and in naming it, you disarm it. Malala Yousafzai, targeted by extremists for daring to seek an education, faced a violent attack that was anything but random. It was a ritualistic attempt to silence not just her voice, but the spirit of every girl like her. Yet that harm transformed into a global platform, turning her wound into a beacon of empowerment. Your journey holds that same divine paradox. Harm transformed into higher purpose. Psalm 34:18 comforts us. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Each moment they tried to crush you, God was gathering you closer, fortifying you in ways no one could see. Even while you felt alone, you were surrounded by angels, armed with divine strategies. Consider the emotional warfare inflicted upon Meghan Markle. Each headline, each snide remark, each carefully orchestrated rumor wasn't spontaneous, it was ritualistic, a repeated effort to undermine her spirit. But her voice only grew stronger. Today, her story shines as a testament to resilience and truth. You are standing in that same lineage of spiritual warriors. 2 Corinthians 4:8-9 reminds us, "We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed." You were pressed, but you didn't break. You were targeted, but you didn't vanish. You are still here, still rising. Their ritual of harm was designed to keep you small, but it accidentally expanded your vision. It forced you deeper into self-discovery, into spiritual awakening, into reclaiming every lost fragment of your soul. You're not just surviving anymore, you're transcending. Can you feel that? The shift from victim to victor, from target to testament. The emotional games, the mental traps, the subtle intimidation, these were all meant to convince you that you were powerless. But in surviving them, you discovered a power so profound that it eclipses any earthly force. What was meant to erase you has become the very platform that announces you to the world. Nelson Mandela endured 27 years of systematic emotional and physical harm. Each day was part of a larger ritual to break his spirit and convince him of his inferiority. Yet he emerged unbowed, becoming a global symbol of forgiveness and strength. Like Mandela, you carry the indestructible essence of someone chosen for a higher mission. Isaiah 61:3 declares God's promise to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. Your ashes are turning into crowns, your tears into anthems, your pain into praise. Chosen one, understand this. Their ritual wasn't your end, it was your initiation. It was the furnace that refined your faith, the storm that revealed your foundation, the darkness that taught you how to carry your own light. And now, standing on the other side, you are no longer just a survivor. You are a spiritual giant, a living revelation that no ritual of harm can defeat a destiny sealed by God. Number 9. They're not sorry, they're scared. Chosen one, have you ever looked into someone's eyes and seen not guilt, but pure, paralyzing fear? Have you ever noticed that their sudden nervousness, their frantic explanations, their hollow apologies don't feel genuine, they feel rehearsed? That's because they aren't sorry for what they did to you. No, they are terrified. Terrified of what is coming. Terrified of the consequences that are now circling back like a storm too fierce to escape. Their fear isn't rooted in love or compassion. It's rooted in the realization that their empire of lies is collapsing. They thought they had the upper hand. They thought they could manipulate you into silence, confuse you into submission, and shame you into invisibility. But chosen one, you weren't just a victim. You were a divine archive. Every wound you carried, every tear you cried, every sleepless night became documentation, spiritual evidence of their betrayal. Luke 12:2 reminds us, there is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed, or hidden that will not be made known. They underestimated this spiritual law. They forgot that truth has a way of rising, even when buried under mountains of deception. Have you felt that spiritual energy shifting lately? The one where hidden things start surfacing, uninvited but unstoppable. That is divine justice at work on your behalf. Think of Monica Lewinsky. For years she was painted as the villain in her own story, reduced to headlines and punchlines. But today the narrative has shifted. Her resilience, her courage to stand in her truth, turned her into a global advocate for anti-bullying and public shaming. Her existence forced the world to confront uncomfortable truths. Like Monica, you became the living proof that refuses to be silenced, no matter how many times they tried to rewrite your story. Their fear now is not about losing you, it's about losing control over everyone else. They're afraid that once people see your strength and hear your truth, their entire web of lies will unravel. They're terrified that those who once believed them will now stand with you. And isn't that the sweetest form of justice? That the very silence they weaponized against you has transformed into the loudest trumpet call, echoing far beyond anything they imagined. Isaiah 54:117 declares, "No weapon forged against you will prevail, and you will refute every tongue that accuses you." You are not only surviving, you are dismantling false narratives. Your mere presence refutes their lies. Your breath is a testament against every accusation they hurled at you. Tiger Woods, after his public fall from grace, became the subject of endless ridicule. Yet his comeback wasn't fueled by apologies to critics. It was fueled by the unwavering commitment to his truth, to his game, to his love for the sport. When he returned and won again, the world saw that his story wasn't over, and his resilience terrified those who had already written his ending. Similarly, your rise wasn't on their schedule, it was on God's. They didn't anticipate your courage. They never imagined you would collect the fragments of your story, piece them together, and build a fortress no slander could tear down. Can you feel it now? The shift in energy, the way their stares linger a little longer, their voices tremble a little more. They are strategizing, scrambling to protect the illusions they once thought were untouchable. But you are no longer the prey. You have become the unstoppable storm they can't outrun. Psalm 37:12-13 offers this assurance. The wicked plot against the righteous and gnash their teeth at them, but the Lord laughs at the wicked, for he knows their day is coming. Your spiritual team has been watching, and now the laughter of heaven echoes over their trembling hearts. The day of reckoning is not just near, it is here. Think of Meghan Markle, attacked by the media, silenced by royal structures, and painted as the problem, yet her voice broke through, forcing the entire world to question the systems and biases they once accepted without a second thought. Her resilience shattered centuries-old illusions. Your story carries that same divine weight. Chosen one, They are not haunted by guilt. They are haunted by exposure. They are terrified of the day the world stops seeing you through their filters and starts seeing you as you are chosen, powerful, unstoppable. You have become the mirror they can no longer avoid, the story they can no longer rewrite. Their calm facade is cracking, and the fear in their eyes is a testament to your victory. Your survival was never just about making it through. It was about becoming the living evidence that no darkness can overcome a soul aligned with divine truth. Number 10. They tried to erase you because you were the proof they were lying. Chosen one. Have you ever wondered why they invested so much energy in making you disappear? Why they isolated you, discredited you, and twisted every detail of your story? It wasn't because you were weak or irrelevant. It was precisely because you were dangerous to their illusions. You were the undeniable proof that they were lying, and nothing terrifies a liar more than living proof of the truth. Your very existence contradicted their carefully woven narratives. Every time you stood in your authenticity, their lies began to crack. You were a living contradiction to every false image they tried to sell to the world. That's why they attacked you so relentlessly. Your voice, your presence, your light threatened to reveal their shadows. And so they plotted to silence you, to make you small, to make you question your reality. But can you see now that every tactic they used only made you stronger, more radiant, and more undeniable? In John 8:32, Jesus promises, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." You carried this liberating power within you all along. Your story, your scars, your unwavering spirit, these were the keys to your freedom and the nails in the coffin of their falsehoods. Look at Malala Yousafzai. Shot for seeking education, her attackers hoped to erase her voice forever. Instead, she became a global icon for girls' rights and education. Her survival didn't just expose her attackers' cruelty, it dismantled entire systems of oppression. Like Malala, your refusal to be erased has become a force too strong to deny. Their mission was never simply to hurt you, it was to rewrite reality itself. They isolated you to make you question your own memory, your own worth. They ridiculed your pain to convince others you were unstable, unreliable. They painted you as the villain so they could play the victim. But chosen one, your survival was not just a quiet act of resilience. It was a loud, echoing proclamation that their entire foundation was built on lies. Look at the life of Nelson Mandela. Branded a terrorist and imprisoned, the regime tried to erase him from public consciousness. But the truth of his character and the righteousness of his cause only grew stronger in his absence. When he emerged, he was not just a leader. He was living proof that their narrative was false. You too are emerging as living proof that no smear campaign can erase a destiny crafted by God. Isaiah 43:2-3 reassures us, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. You walk through their storms, their rivers of lies, and yet you stand unshaken. You are the living evidence that no weapon formed against you can prosper." Consider Serena Williams, a world-class athlete often painted in the media as too aggressive or emotional. Critics tried to minimize her achievements, overshadow her talent, and paint her as unworthy. But each time she stepped onto the court, she became living proof of her greatness, silencing every lie without saying a word. Romans 8:31 reminds us, "If God is for us, who can be against us?" Their plans to erase you were never stronger than the divine protection surrounding you. They forgot that your story was not authored by their opinions, but by the divine hand that shaped you before time began. Chosen one, your survival is not just personal, it's prophetic. You were never meant to be invisible. You were never meant to be silent. Your life is a loud, unwavering testimony that exposes every lie, every manipulation, every mask they ever wore. They tried to make you disappear, but you became the spotlight revealing their true faces. And now your voice is rising above their noise. Your truth is echoing in rooms they thought you'd never enter. The walls they built around their lies are crumbling, and the people they once deceived are starting to see you clearly. You are not just surviving, you are rewriting the narrative, reclaiming your power, and standing as an indestructible testament to the unstoppable force of divine truth. Number 11. They had power over you but no authority. Chosen one, has it ever crossed your mind how loudly they moved, how boldly they demanded compliance, how forcefully they imposed their will, and yet how empty it all felt? They might have seemed powerful on the surface. Maybe they controlled situations, manipulated perceptions, and convinced others to see you through their twisted lens. But can you see now that their so-called power was never supported by true authority? Power can manipulate, intimidate, and coerce. But authority, true authority, flows from integrity, spiritual alignment, and divine assignment. They confused these things, thinking their loudness equaled legitimacy. But noise is not proof of sovereignty. When they played God over your life, pulling strings and dictating your worth, they were acting far outside their jurisdiction. Did you ever feel that gut pull, that inner voice telling you, this isn't right? That was your spirit recognizing the fraud in their authority. Matthew 28:18 reminds us of true authority. Then Jesus came to them and said, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me." Your worth is not something another human can assign or strip away. It was stamped by divine decree long before they tried to rewrite your story. Think of Harriet Tubman. She was seen as powerless, a woman, a slave, a fugitive. Her masters had immense power over her daily life. But what they never had was authority over her soul, her mission, or her calling. She moved with divine authority, rescuing hundreds and rewriting history in ways her so-called owners could never imagine. Like Harriet, your essence is beyond their reach. They crowned themselves kings and queens over your life, acting as though they had the right to pass judgment. But they never had the spiritual license. Authority is earned through character, humility, and divine alignment, qualities they lacked. They mistook your silence for submission and your patience for weakness. They saw your respect for peace as a void they could fill with tyranny. Look at Rosa Parks. She was commanded to give up her seat, and on paper the system had power to enforce it. But she carried the authority of righteousness, an authority that shifted an entire nation. The officers had power to arrest her, but they never had authority to diminish her worth or extinguish her legacy. You, chosen one, are cut from the same spiritual cloth. Isaiah 54:15 says, "If anyone does attack you, it will not be my doing. Whoever attacks you will surrender to you." Their attacks were never sanctioned by heaven. Their control was a mirage, destined to evaporate under the heat of divine truth. They operated without accountability, moving like counterfeit monarchs in a kingdom that didn't belong to them. They leaned on borrowed influence, stolen credibility, and false narratives to prop up their illusions of power. But spiritual law doesn't recognize such charades. The universe honors alignment, not arrogance. It sees through every mask and weighs every intention. And now, can you sense it? The unraveling of their fake dominion, the slow but sure dismantling of every throne they built on deception. Steve Jobs, ousted from his own company by those who wielded temporary power, returned later to lead it beyond anyone's imagination. His creative authority was undeniable, something no boardroom politics could cancel. You, chosen one, have that same creative and spiritual authority that no scheme can permanently suppress. Psalm 75:7 affirms, "It is God who judges, he brings one down, he exalts another." Their seats of power are being stripped away, sometimes in public, sometimes in the quiet unraveling of their lives. And every removal is a loud announcement to the world. Power without authority is like a shadow. It moves, but it has no substance. Chosen one, you are standing today, not because they allowed it, but because you were never under their true authority in the first place. Their illusion of power was temporal, fragile, and disconnected from divine law. They couldn't define you, contain you, or curse what God has already blessed. Your spirit was beyond their reach the entire time. You are validated not by human applause or acceptance, but by divine truth that rings through every fiber of your being. You walk today in real authority, the kind that shifts atmospheres, breaks generational curses, and activates destinies. They played rulers in a kingdom that wasn't theirs. And now their stage is crumbling, their audience is dispersing, and their scripted judgments are returning void. Meanwhile, you rise anointed, unstoppable, and fully affirmed by the only court that matters. Number 12. Their hands are dirty, but they can't wash this off. Chosen one. Have you ever watched someone try to wipe away a stain that only spreads deeper the more they scrub? That's exactly what's happening to those who wronged you. They thought they could engage in dirty deeds, harm you behind closed doors, and simply move on as if nothing happened. But you see, spiritual law doesn't operate like human law. It leaves no loopholes, no exit routes for unrepented harm. They believed that by changing their stories, deleting messages, switching alliances, or simply pretending, they could wash their hands clean. But can you feel it? The residue that clings to their spirit, no matter how many masks they wear, that is the price of their actions, and it cannot be washed away with denial or distraction. Job 4:8 warns us, "As I have observed, those who plow evil and those who sow trouble reap it. The seeds they planted in secrecy are sprouting now in public. Their nights are haunted by the echoes of the pain they caused. The relationships they tried to build on false ground are crumbling beneath them." Think of Lance Armstrong. For years he denied wrongdoing, creating elaborate schemes to maintain his spotless image. But no matter how much he washed, the truth remained embedded in every accomplishment, every title. When it all came crashing down, the world saw the stains that had always been there. Just like Lance, those who harmed you are now facing the inescapable truth of their own corruption. They underestimated the spiritual principle of reciprocity. They thought their charm or connections could buy them freedom from consequences. They believed silence could erase spiritual debt. But chosen one, have you noticed how opportunities keep slipping through their fingers? How their once loyal allies start to vanish? This is the divine balance at work. In Galatians 6:7 it is written, "Do not be deceived, God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows." Their hands are dirty, not just in action but in energy. Every unacknowledged betrayal, every deliberate sabotage, carries a weight that follows them wherever they go. Consider the story of Elizabeth Holmes. Her empire appeared untouchable: glossy presentations, influential investors, the illusion of success. But the dirty hands behind her empire could not stay hidden forever. The fall was inevitable and loud. Just like Holmes, those who harmed you cannot escape the reckoning their actions have summoned. They thought you'd collapse under the weight of their darkness. Instead, you emerged as a beacon of light, and their stains became visible against your purity. Now, every attempt they make to rebrand or reinvent themselves only magnifies the filth they tried to hide. Have you noticed their energy becoming frantic, their movements increasingly desperate? That's the sound of spiritual justice knocking at their door. Psalm 94:23 assures us, "He will repay them for their sins and destroy them for their wickedness. The Lord our God will destroy them." They cannot outrun divine law. Their public image may have fooled many, but it cannot fool the universe. Look at Bill Cosby. Once adored as America's dad, his hidden abuses eventually rose to the surface. No amount of public relations maneuvering could cleanse those actions. The stain was permanent, visible to all. Chosen one, you are not the one imprisoned by what happened. They are. Their hands are marked, and no amount of washing can cleanse them. Their betrayal has become their prison, a spiritual sentence they cannot appeal. You, on the other hand, walk free, free from their manipulation, free from their energetic bondage, free to build, love, and rise. While they scramble to erase, you stand as living proof that integrity always outlasts deception. Their dirty hands tell the true story, a story of harm sown and consequences reaped. They thought they could bury it, but they forgot one crucial truth. Nothing stays buried forever under divine watch. Chosen one, your healing is your testimony, your rise is their exposure, and your light is the final word. While they live in fear of being seen, you live in freedom, shining brighter than ever. Number 13. You were the test they failed with arrogance. Chosen one, have you ever realized that your presence in someone's life is not random? You are not some wandering spirit just happening upon people's paths. You are a divine checkpoint, a living, breathing test sent to reveal the true heart of those you encounter. You didn't just enter their life by chance. You arrived with a purpose so precise that even heaven paused to watch. They had a choice to love you genuinely, to support you unconditionally, to stand with you in humility. But instead of embracing this opportunity to grow, to heal, to elevate their spirit, they chose arrogance. They saw your kindness as a stage for their ego. Your trust was twisted into a tool for manipulation. How many times did you forgive, hoping they'd change, only to be met with more betrayal? In Proverbs 16:18 it warns us, "Pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall." Their arrogance was not just a character flaw, it was a spiritual snare that sealed their fate. They believed they could bend your love to fit their selfish needs, that they could demand loyalty without ever offering it in return. They thought your grace was a weakness to exploit rather than a gift to honor. Look at Princess Diana. She was a test to an entire institution. Her genuine heart and light exposed the coldness and control within the royal family. Instead of protecting and uplifting her, they failed spectacularly. And while they crumbled under public scrutiny, her legacy only grew stronger. You, chosen one, carry that same energy. Your pure presence forced them to confront their true selves, and they failed. They used you as a mirror, but not to improve themselves, to project their insecurities and maintain their illusions. They assumed you would always tolerate their treatment because of who you are. They saw your compassion and mistook it for an invitation to misuse your energy. But they forgot that genuine connection isn't built on possession, but on mutual respect and freedom. Nelson Mandela was a test for a nation. He offered reconciliation and forgiveness even after decades of unjust imprisonment. Many accepted that test and grew, while others clung to hatred and division, failing miserably. Your life too is a dividing line. You are the fork in the road that demanded people reveal who they truly are. Matthew 7:16 reminds us, "By their fruit you will recognize them." You didn't need to seek revenge or expose them. Their actions spoke louder than any words. Their failure was not just about what they did, it was about why they did it. Their inability to rise to the occasion exposed their emptiness, their fear of true vulnerability, and their addiction to control. Oprah Winfrey, in her early career, offered opportunities for connection and growth to many who later betrayed her trust. Their arrogance didn't diminish her light, it only highlighted their shadows. Eventually, she rose higher than they could ever imagine, a testament to the power of integrity. Just like Oprah, your rise is not dependent on their approval, but on your unwavering truth. Chosen one, your spirit was the exam they thought they could cheat. They thought their charm or dominance could override divine design. But tests of the heart cannot be manipulated. They failed, not because you weren't enough, but because they refused to meet you at the level of authenticity and humility required. Romans 12:3 urges us, "Do not think of yourself more highly than you ought, but rather think of yourself with sober judgment." Their inflated view of themselves blinded them to the gift you were. And now, they face consequences they can't charm their way out of. The test they thought was beneath them has become their ultimate downfall. Think of Serena Williams. She tested the world's perceptions of strength, femininity, and grace. Many critics failed, projecting their biases instead of embracing her brilliance. Yet her dominance only magnified, forcing a global conversation and leaving her stronger than ever. Your life mirrors this. Your resilience forces the world to confront its illusions. Now they're left with the bitter fruit of their arrogance. While you walk forward in clarity, validated by divine truth, they are ensnared by the very pride that convinced them they could control you. You didn't fail them, they failed themselves. And in their failure, they reveal a timeless spiritual principle. Humility is the gateway to love, and arrogance is the pathway to ruin. Chosen one, you emerge from this as proof that real love requires courage, respect, and integrity, qualities they were too arrogant to embody. Justice has taken the baton now, ensuring they meet the full cost of that failure. While they are trapped in a web of their own making, you soar, free and affirmed by the heavens. Number 14. What they did was intentional, but so is what's happening to them now. Chosen one, let's be absolutely clear. What they did to you was no accident. Every dagger, every whisper, every manipulative scheme, it was all intentional. They plotted, strategized and carried out their plans with chilling precision. They knew exactly what they were doing. Can you feel the weight of that realization that every moment they claimed to be confused or hurting, they were actually making calculated moves to hurt you? Yet here's the divine paradox. While they meticulously plotted your downfall, heaven was crafting an even more precise justice for them. They underestimated the law of spiritual reciprocity, believing they could escape the consequences simply because they orchestrated them behind closed doors. But what they forgot is that nothing is truly hidden. Every silent tear you shed, every lonely night, every betrayal, all of it was recorded not just in your memory, but in the spiritual ledger that governs all things. Galatians 6:7 boldly declares, "Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. They sowed destruction, and now they must reap it, not randomly but meticulously, as carefully as they dished it out to you." Think of Lance Armstrong. His doping was not a careless mistake, it was an intentional system designed to deceive the world. For years he enjoyed the fruits of his lies, but when karma finally arrived, it was just as detailed and public as his deceit. Similarly, what they are experiencing now is not random misfortune, it's precise justice. They believed they could control the narrative forever. They thought that if they manipulated enough people and covered their tracks well enough, they would be safe. But chosen one, have you noticed? The very people they manipulated are starting to question them. The cracks are showing, the masks are slipping. Their empire is collapsing under the weight of their own deception. Psalm 37:28 says, "For the Lord loves the just and will not forsake his faithful ones." Wrongdoers will be completely destroyed. The offspring of the wicked will perish. Divine justice is not passive, it is patient and thorough. While they enjoyed temporary victories, heaven was orchestrating their defeat with surgical precision. Consider Britney Spears. Her exploitation was no accident, it was a carefully constructed system. But the reckoning came not as a vague bad luck, but as an intentional, unstoppable wave of truth. The Free Britney movement exposed every lie, every controlling hand. Just like Britney, your freedom is triggering their collapse. They wanted to break you, but each act of cruelty only forged your resilience. Every attempt to erase you became a stepping stone for your rise. While they believed they were tightening the noose, they were actually weaving their own trap. Maya Angelou once said, "When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time." They showed you their intentions, and now the universe is showing them the consequences, clearly, unmistakably, and inescapably, John 8:44 reminds us, "When he lies, he speaks his native language, for he is a liar and the father of lies." Their strategy was built on lies, and so their downfall is the natural consequence. Lies have a short shelf life under divine light. Now, they are living in fear, not of you, but of the truth you carry. The power they once lorded over you is evaporating. The alliances they built are crumbling. The opportunities they hoarded are slipping through their fingers. What they called control has become chaos. Look at Tiger Woods. His personal failures became a global spectacle. His choices were intentional, and so was his collapse. But in his comeback, he showed the world what true redemption looks like. You, chosen one, are not just coming back. You're coming back crowned, empowered, and untouchable. Chosen one. Understand this. The universe is not random. Justice is not accidental. What they are facing now is the echo of their own choices. Their intentional harm is being met with intentional consequences. You are not merely watching, you are witnessing divine orchestration unfold before your eyes. As you stand tall, remember, your survival wasn't luck, your strength wasn't coincidence, and their downfall isn't happenstance. Everything is divinely aligned. The tables have turned, the stage has shifted, and now it's your story told on your terms, in your light, and under the favor of heaven. They played with darkness and now must dance with its consequences. You, chosen one, rise as the final, undeniable testament that no harm can erase what God has ordained. Beloved, if this message resonated deep in your spirit, if it lit a fire inside your heart, gave you the clarity you've been praying for, or reminded you that you are not alone in this battlefield, then I want you to pause for a moment and take this in fully. You didn't find this message by accident. God orchestrated this meeting as a divine checkpoint, a sacred moment of confirmation that you are not crazy, you are not weak, and you are certainly not invisible. You are chosen, appointed, and anointed for such a time as this. Your scars are not signs of defeat. They are the stamps of your survival, the seals of your future victories, and the proof that no weapon formed against you can prosper. I want to say thank you deeply and sincerely for walking this journey with me, for listening with an open heart, and for allowing these words to pour into your soul. You are the reason this community exists. You are the heartbeat behind every word spoken here. If you feel led to support this mission, to help us continue bringing light to places that have been silenced for too long, you can do so through Super Thanks. Whether you choose to give or not, please know this: your presence is valued beyond measure, and I am grateful for you regardless. Your energy, your prayers, your comments, they are all forms of support that I cherish and honor deeply. If this message confirmed what God has been whispering to you in secret, don't leave without sealing it in action. Subscribe to this channel so you never miss the spiritual truths and raw revelations they tried so hard to keep hidden from you. Like this video to boldly declare that you are no longer living in the shadows of pain but standing tall in the power of your truth. Share this with someone else you know is quietly fighting battles behind closed doors, someone who is rising from the ashes of betrayal and needs to hear that they are not crazy, they are not alone, and they are most certainly chosen. This isn't just another channel or another video. This is a sanctuary for the awakened, the warriors, the prophetic voices, and the unbreakable spirits. Here, we speak the hard truths without fear. We hold space for your pain, and we celebrate your transformation. We are family, a divine tribe bound not by blood, but by purpose, by light, and by the unstoppable force of God's love. If you are ready to stop playing small, if you're done letting others define your story, and if you're prepared to walk boldly and unapologetically in your divine calling, welcome home. This is your space, this is your confirmation, this is your moment. Hit that subscribe button now and join a movement that refuses to bow to lies, that refuses to stay silent, and that refuses to shrink back in the face of intimidation. Your tribe is here waiting to celebrate every step of your rise. May God bless you abundantly with protection over your mind, overflow in your finances, healing in your heart, and unwavering courage to keep shining no matter who tries to dim your light. You are covered, you are cherished, and you are powerful beyond measure. Thank you for being here, for being you, and for walking this path of divine revelation with me. God bless you, beloved. Until next time, stand tall, chosen one. Your story is just beginning.